Good morning guys and welcome back to Computer Application and Mechanical and Industrial Engineering. We will start now the application of what we learned in the previous videos about the functions. But before doing this, let's see this problem and describe how to use fprintf to print out our variables. So this is the problem that we need to solve in this video lecture. In fact, in this problem, we should write a Matlab function that calculates the moment of inertia of a triangle about its centroid, base and vertex, and all the equations are given, so don't worry. The function should take two input arguments that are the base and the height, and of course it should return the three arguments. The first one is the moment of inertia about its centroid, then the moment of inertia about its base, and then the moment of inertia about its vertex. So here guys, you should build this function, you should save it as triag inertia, and then you should call this function in a script file. So write a script file that calls this function 3 times. So I should call this function 3 times for 3 different dimensions and generate the following table. So I have here a table for the base and for the height, and I need to find ICRBIV from the function, from calling this function and printing them out in this table. So in order to do this, for the first part it can be done because we know how to build a function. For the second part, in order to print out a table or print out any variable, we should use fprintf. So what is fprintf? Basically, fprintf is used to print out a sentence or a variable or a sentence with the value of this variable in your command window. Alright? So let's go back to the example of volume and assume that I have the script, I run it, and I need to tell the user that the volume, the third volume, based on these dimensions, H3, W3, L3, is equal to this value, which is here 24. So I need to tell the user that the third volume that corresponds to 4, 3, and 2 is equal to the value of volume 3. Let's start step by step using fprintf. So let's say, for example, fprintf, the volume of the third cube or the third volume that corresponds to L, the length L, equal to L1 here or L3, or that corresponds to L3, H3, and width 3 is, and I need to show the value of the third volume. \n, close the quotation. So what I'm gonna have here, basically I'm gonna have the same exact sentence. fprintf here, in this case, will print out the exact sentence that I put inside quotation. However, what I need to see basically is this one. Third volume that corresponds to L3 is equal to the value of L3, which is 2, H3, which is basically H3, H4, and L3 is 2, is V3 or volume 3 is equal to 24. This is what I need to see using fprintf. How to do this? How to force Matlab to put the value of this L3 inside this L3 and show them to the command window. Now basically this is done using the formatted output. Let's see how. In fact guys, If you need to print out the value of any variable defined in your script, you should use %f or %d or %e or %g depending on the notation you want to see on your command. For example, and don't be confused, because usually students think that %d is for the decimal notation and %f is for the integer. No. %d is for integer and %f is for decimal notation. And basically, %f is the commonly used formatted output. Now, %e is for the scientific notation and %g is the compact notation between %f and %g. So basically, guys, %f will allow me to print out the value of the variable using fprintf, but in a decimal way. %d will allow me to print the value of the variable that is integer. %f is the commonly used because, in fact, I don't know if this variable is an integer or it is a decimal number. So that's why %f is most used. Let's try this here. So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna use fprintf. The third volume corresponding to L3 is equal, and then here, guys, I'm gonna say %f. H3 is equal, I'm gonna say %f. W3 is equal %f. Is vol3 is equal to %f. And then I'm going to put \n, close the quotation, and this is now where you should specify what is the %f or what is the variable that you need to substitute inside %f. You should conserve the order. So the first %f is for what? Is for L3. So I should say L3, and make sure that this L3 is the same as L3 defined in your workspace or in your script. So it's a small L3. The second one is for H3. Alright? So this is H3. The third one is for the width 3. And the last one here, %f, corresponds to the variable called vol3. And then I'm gonna close the parentheses. Now here, guys, you don't have to name this L3. Could be length, could be height here, and here width. And here, guys, again, you can remove this vol3. Okay, so the volume corresponding to the length equal to what? L3. So Matlab will substitute this %f by L3. The height, %f by H3. The width, %f by W3. And then here, guys, is %f will be substituted by the value of the variable vol3. So let's click enter and see what happens. The third volume corresponding to length equal to 2.000, height is equal to 4.000, width is equal to 3.000 is 24.000. So you can see, guys, that Matlab is substituting the values of the variables inside the percentages. Now what if I don't want to see this huge number of zeros? I only want to see 2 decimal numbers after the decimal point. I can do this also using %f. So I'm going to click on page up, and then I'm going to modify this %f to be %.2f. 0.2f, 0.2f, and then I'm going to click OK. Then you can see that MATLAB is only printing 2 decimal number after the decimal point. Now if you are sure that all these values are decimal, then what you should do is to say, instead of 0.2%f, you can say %d only, because I'm sure that they are integers. And you can click OK, and then the third volume corresponding to length is equal to 2, height 4, width 3 is 24. Which means, guys, that percentage allows you inside fprintf to substitute a variable by the value of this variable by this %f or %d. And not only this, the formatted output can also specify the number of the decimal numbers after the decimal point. Not only this, it can also specify the space reserved for this value. How? Let's see how. Find x as 5.6789. Okay? Open the quotation and then say my variable x is equal to %.2f, and then \n, close the quotation, and then don't forget \n to go to the next line, and then this is my x. What will happen here? MATLAB will only print this x with 2 decimal numbers after the decimal point, or at 6, 7, although it has 4. Let's click on page up and modify this to be 3. So I have now 3 numbers after the decimal point. And I know that x has 4. So what I'm going to do now is to modify this to be 0.4. Click on enter. And then you have the whole x. And now I'm going to modify this to be 5. What do you think will happen here? In fact, MATLAB will print a 0 because x has only 4 decimal numbers. So MATLAB will print a 0. What if I need to reserve for x only 4 digits with 2 decimal numbers? So basically, guys, I should do this 4.2. 4.2, what does this mean? This means, guys, that I'm reserving for x only 4 digits. Inside these 4 digits, I have a decimal point and 2 decimal number. So what do you think will be the printed out x? It should be 1, 2, 3, 4. This should be x. So guys, if you click OK, this should be x. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4 digits. Okay, because I'm reserving only 4 digits for x, including a decimal point and 2 decimal number. Now basically, guys, if I'm going to reserve 5, but with only 2 decimal number, what do you think will happen? Think about it. Take a minute. I'm reserving 5 digits for x, including only 2 decimal number with a decimal point. So what will happen here? What is the difference between this printed out x and this printed out x? The difference between them is that this printed out x has a space here, not 0. So MATLAB will not put a 0 for the number that is before the decimal point. But if there is no number, MATLAB will keep a space. And this one here, guys, is very important. This formatted output is very important for our problem. Because in fact, if I need to print out a table like this case, what you should do, guys, is to make sure that your numbers are under the title of this column. So 3 should be under B. I don't want to see 3 at the left side or the right side of this column. I'm going to see this 3 almost at the midpoint of this title or of the column title. So this means, guys, that you need to reserve like 1, 2, 3 spaces before 3. And this is how you make sure that your table will be printed out in a very convenient way.